Take it to a hazard waste place?
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're putting on our...
Good afternoon. Parks and Recreation come to order. Roll call, please.
Say your name again.
Kevin Janaszek.
Ann Zimmerman.
Denny Walburn.
Bruce Richardson.
Larry Pencratz.
Bonnie Schamberger.
John Miller.
Okay, do we have an introduction of guests?
If you could, Mr. Richardson,
Checked about the
request
Kansas.
staff confirmation
Meetings.
of the Kansas Open Meeting Act.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Request staff confirmation that Kansas open meeting required.
It was.
Thank you, Morgan. Now introduction of guests.
We have two individuals here. One's a city staff member, Brad Anderson, who's the Director of Arts and Humanities, and we have another person, her name is Megan. She is with a Leadership Salina group who has a presentation or some information that they could be sharing under new business.
Thank you.
Okay, introduction of new board member.
Mr. Janaszek.
Yeah, happy to be here. Looking forward to it. Larry's tried to recruit me for a while, so here we are.
Well, welcome.
So yeah,
Glad to have you.
if it doesn't work out, it's Larry's fault.
It always is, you know, I'm used to that.
You told him how much fun this was up there.
For
didn't
the
you?
first time in a while, we have a full board.
Full board.
Okay, citizens forum. Citizens are welcome to present or ask questions. Do we have any citizens here? None? Okay. Approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, same sign. Approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, same sign. Activity reports.
Thank you. I'm going to go through these somewhat quickly so we can spend some time with our new business items and also our project updates. As I usually do, I highlight several items. I don't go through every item of the activity report, but if there are questions relating to that, certainly ask. We've been removing stone grills from Oakdale and Sunset Park, old water fountains from Sunset Park, and old structures in both of those parks that are aged. They're damaged in some fashion, or they've been damaged and then repaired, and they're just not really great showing items in our park system. Been removing those, which was part of a master plan item that we've been working towards. Received our new trash cans, and those are being assembled, and we'll be deploying those into parks very soon. You'll notice on 7th Street, 8th Street, that landscaping staff have been restoring and rejuvenating parking lot beds in the downtown. Forestry, we have made some hires in our forestry department. Parks operation manager and some park technicians who will be working as we're working on filling 2 vacancies. We did fill one of those positions.
And who's the operations director?
His name is Tim. I don't recall Tim's last name.
Tim Rogers.
Okay.
Not from the airport.
Not the airport then.
Lakewood Park, trout were stocked. We generally stock fish at Lakewood Park 4 times a year, in November, December, and then January, February. So this was our last order for the order of fish to stock with Lakewood Park with trout. Ties and Tiaras event at the Tony's Pizza Event Center had less than desirable attendance for that. We need to work on marketing that event or changing a little bit to get some more attendance in that. But speaking of dances, our therapeutic rec dance went rather well. We brought that back, and we haven't had that dance for 4 years, at least 4 years. So that was something we brought back for that therapeutic recreation population. Kenwood Cove, the aquatic supervisor notes that there's a new Red Cross materials for lifeguard training. It's a somewhat of a new program and a new teaching method for that, so that's taking up some time. One thing that is noted that I should note is that did not make it into the packet is that we intend on opening day for Kenwood Cove is always at Memorial Day weekend. Typically, we open Memorial Day the Saturday of Memorial Day. This year, we intend on opening up the Memorial Day of Monday after the weekend. This gives us an additional 4 days to train those lifeguards with that new program material. As some of you might know, the school district has class until Wednesday, the Wednesday prior to Memorial Day weekend. That gives us Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to train 50-some lifeguards and get them trained and get them certified to lifeguard Kenwood Cove. And then I'll skip to the facilities maintenance, assuming Travis wants to talk about field house and
Get to
athletics.
that, Jeff.
I'm sorry, sir?
On the golf course, did we ever get all those carts in? We're always going to get a report, something on the golf carts going from,
Lithium, yeah, from acid battery.
We did provide a report to the board about 4 months ago relating to the question about that. The bids did come in for lithium battery-powered carts. There's not been an official approval of that capital purchase of anything that was bid out yet. That is forthcoming. But the bids did come in for all of our 2024 equipment, including those golf carts that are battery powered.
so does that come to us first then, or does it go?
That does not.
Okay. Just curious.
Going to facilities maintenance, it was noted to me that the highlights of the facilities maintenance construction division, all 4 of those items are relating to our tennis center at Kenwood Park. The bathrooms in there are functional. They've passed final inspection. They are ready to use. I'm meeting with the Salina Tennis Alliance folks next week or soon. Going to be scheduling it next week with them and kind of hand over that operation to them and walk the space with them. Assuming Travis wants to talk about Fieldhouse Athletics, I'll let him do so at this time.
Sure. Thank you. January and February, believe it or not, cold out, but we're starting to ramp up for baseball, softball season, especially with turfed Dean Evans Stadium. It's pretty busy in January, February, especially when the high school season starts ramping it up, or I think that was February 26th. So a lot of play on that facility already. New pickleball courts, I drive by there quite a bit. The ladies do not like to play in the wind, I've learned, so they tend to use the field house still quite a bit. They're in there today. So, but both facilities getting utilized quite a bit for a lot of pickleball play. The field house, we have a regular programming there in February, just your adult basketball, adult volleyball, youth basketball. I failed to put that in there. The one I wanted to note was toddler time. We did bring that back. I was pretty excited about that because that's one of our last programs bringing back after COVID. So Sarah's doing a great job, and we even extended it because of the requests throughout March. So a lot of daycares coming in, bringing their kids, and if you haven't been there, it's tomorrow, Thursday at 10. You might have to fight for a parking spot because Match Madness is going on as well, but we purposely wanted to do that to expose the program to those folks as well. But on a normal basis, anywhere from 20 to 40 kiddos. Wow. So trying to get some energy out of them to send them for a nap. I didn't know with some newer board members that they knew that First Tee runs a program in the field house as well. We do have netting for golf on number 6, and so First Tee comes in on Wednesdays and runs that program throughout the winter, and then come March, then they'll start going outside. So pretty good program for them. Our events, we had 9 in February alone, 9 events totaling 279 teams. To say we were busy is an understatement. We had a lot of tournaments, great tournaments. I did list them for you, and I'm not going to read there, but the ones that are kind of catching my eye, we're hosting some homeschool tournaments, and those organizations are not necessarily from Salina either. There's Hutch, Reno County comes here to run a tournament. A Wichita homeschool comes here to run a tournament. And then we did put a bid in, as you guys know, last year for the ND2 tournament. It's a national homeschool basketball tournament, junior high and high school teams. 82 teams. It was busy, but my fears were put down a little bit. There was a few fears that I had, and it ran just fine. So that has to do with the scheduling of the tournament, providing more space. We did, especially on court number 5, we just added some more hangout space and seating space. We did not utilize that court for games, but just to accommodate the mass of people for hangout and viewing, and it worked wonders. As you know, their lobby is pretty spacious, but it wouldn't have held that tournament. So we used number 5, and that worked very well. I think we got some positive reviews on that tournament. They utilized Kansas Westland, Muir, and maybe as well. So big tournament, big thing, good thing for Salina. That's all I got.
How about Indian Rock? From all the concrete up there?
Yeah, I think I have that under my project updates. I can answer your questions now, or give an update now, or wait till then. Whatever the board would like.
I didn't, is that underneath concrete improvements?
Correct.
Oh, okay, that's what threw me off. That, I can wait.
Okay.
Okay, any new business?
We have for you 2 items today. First one is a consideration for a Leadership Salina project. Leadership Salina is a yearly thing, exercise that has been going on, and I'm not as familiar with Leadership Salina as I could be. Leadership Salina is a group that comes together and does projects in town, and a lot of those projects, or a lot of those improvements that the group comes up with are relating to items that are in parks or in the downtown or in public spaces. And the latest one that has come this year is proposed shade structures at Eric Stein Stage, which is in Oakdale Park. And I believe Megan and Mr. Brad Anderson are here to speak about that. There are some items in your packet that gave some conceptual drawings about that, what that could look like. Late last year, we met with the group, and we were very excited about the possibility of having this. It really gives a nice professional feel to the Eric Stein Stage. It also helps with any event we might have at the stage or in the park, including the Smoky Hill River Festival. So with that, I'll pass it over to Megan or Brad if they would like to speak about it.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
How are you today?
I am good, thank you. So I don't want to take too much credit. While Leadership Salina is a wonderful program, and I am class of 2023. As Jeff said, we met in the fall. Really, the goal of my group in Leadership Salina was to act as a liaison between Salina Arts and Humanities as well as a architect. We also wanted to utilize, through Greater Salina Community Foundation, you have the opportunity to apply for grant funding, and so we wanted to use our grant funding to be able to pay for the renderings of the concept that was already well established, an idea that's been discussed and talked about, hoped for a very long time, to have shade structure at the Eric Stein Stage at Oakdale Park. So that was really our main role, and I won't take up too much of your time, and I'll let Brad kind of talk about the end result, hopefully, which we yes, go ahead, Ann.
What's your last name?
Yes.
And are you an architect?
I'm Megan Ayers, and I'm with Superior Contracting and Manufacturing Services, also known as Superior Plumbing, here in town.
Okay, so you're not an architect?
I
thought-
am not, no.
I was thinking
Yeah.
that you said that, but no.
Yeah,
Okay.
we actually met with a local architect because we thought that that would be the most beneficial. We started with JGR. They did the original drawings for the Eric Stein Stage years ago. However, the grant funding was not going to be enough to kind of pay for those concept drawings. So we went with an architect that's out of Wichita, L&K Architecture, and that is who created the renderings that are in your packet. Thank you.
We'll kind of tag team here. Brad Anderson, I'm Director of Arts and Humanities for the city. Shade at the Stein Stage has been an important item since before I started there 13 years ago. And what the Leadership Salina class did was kind of give us a little bit of an adrenaline shot to do a visualization of what that might look like and give us a jumping off point for next steps. So to make some clarifications here, this rendering was a concept rendering so that we could get a three-dimensional visualization of what a footprint of shade might look like as a first step in the park in a hot and underutilized area during much of the daytime. This didn't come with bids, and it didn't come with engineering. So part of the reason that Jeff invited us here today was to kind of put this on your radar, to hear questions that you might have as a board, or ideas or interest or feedback as we take this to the next phase. So because we have these renderings, it gives us an ability to have conversations like this with you, to imagine what might be possible for this, and then to take these and be able to share those with a professional design and engineering company that's willing to project out a potential cost for something of this scale with this effectiveness and height and so on. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, with a better thing than just us showing some pictures of the park and saying, hey, could you make some shade for us? So what we've done, if you go through some of the photos, is tried, like for instance, the first shade that was designed by Jeff in Wichita, they were about 10 feet lower to the ground, closer to the ground, provided just a little bit more shade cover. The problem is all of our speaker arrays from Stein Stage would cut right in the middle of that, and so they had to be elevated to be above the speaker arrays so that the sound could project out underneath that shade. And then we looked at kind of the effective range and where that was to be as least disruptive as we could to the current footprint of the park, knowing that depending on what the final cost of this might be phase 1 of 2 or 3, depending on the cost, as we move up that center sunny spot that people tend to want to sit, but where we allow them to bring in umbrellas and other things now. The other thing this doesn't include at this location, because its proximity to the stage, future iterations of shade may also include some plumbing to be able to have, or at least electricity to be able to put misting fans and be able to have both cool jets of water, not enough to make mud, but to bring the temperature down another 10 to 15 degrees, especially during the hottest part of the day when that center grassy area is largely unoccupied. We think that there might be more folks who'd move down closer to the stage if the concrete wasn't so hot, or not have to wait until the evening. So in terms of what comes next, in our research into some companies and some possible fabricators, we're not at the point of budgeting for this or bidding, calling for a qualified bid, but there is a company that we've talked to that can do most of the engineering and design and cost projection for free. And so our intent is to take this to them as a next starting place, or the next step, and say, show us what you can do with your product and your engineering for this footprint and this space, and we'll provide the elevations and the architect's renderings of the Stein Stage to be able to build from, to know, as you see on some of these, there's a large shade piece that extends from the physical stage out. That's mostly to protect musicians and light rain that might hit the front of the stage. We have to suspend music if rain hits that because of safety concerns. This would allow us to operate a little bit longer in mild weather that is a little bit damp. So can the building hold that? Structurally, is it built and designed, or would it have to be engineered and reinforced for that to take place? We don't have any of those details yet. So what we do then is, when an engineered concept would come back and a cost projection, when people say, how much is that going to be? It partly depends on how it gets done. And I'm getting ahead of my skis here, but it could be as little as $50,000 to $75,000 and as much as $250,000 for this, depending on whether we engineered it and built it locally, or a hybrid between having shade devices engineered and designed, but the metal work and that engineering being done locally, or whether we pay a third party to do it and install it all. It makes a difference in terms of parks care and maintenance on an annual basis. We're kind of envisioning this as something that might go up in May and last past the car show and the 4th of July celebration in the park and those kinds of things, and be able to benefit the municipal band and other entities, but it wouldn't stay up 365 days. So I'm going to quit rambling there for a minute and see if any of you have questions or feedback that we can take back to our staff and consider going forward. We'd certainly be working with park staff throughout this entire process. We didn't conceive this in a vacuum. We checked first with them, and as we move into the grassier areas, we'd have to look at something that might be more translucent to make sure that it still allowed grass to grow. We don't want to create conflicts or problems with their master plan for how that space is shaped. So, any questions on that one?
I showed it to my coworkers, and one of the comments was that they would like more colors, not just one.
Yeah, we didn't get into the design component of that, but this was just a way to clearly distinguish shapes. So, yeah, my guess is we'd be taking a look at. They drafted a little bit off of the current stage colors that are on the walls inside the stage. We use those kind of aquamarine series of blue-greens and blues in receding shades. I think there's 6 shades, maybe. There's 6 shades of blue on the wall in there, so I think the architect just sampled one of those colors for us.
How tall is it?
Same height as the stage.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it goes up, the dirt goes up in the back, so when you have people back further, I mean, would the canopies or whatever?
The canopies, the only thing that some audience members would be looking through is the poles. The shades would be well above the people sitting further back under umbrellas looking up. It's high enough to clear all of that. And actually, I think they gave us an elevation that it's not completely helpful, but there's the last one in the packet that I gave you kind of shows a rendering from seat level looking at the stage over near where the sound booth is at the event. And I think you're able to tell from those angles that no matter how, there's about a 5-foot rise, a 4 to 5 foot rise, I think, that goes back. Somebody seated or standing would still be well below that sight line to be able to see the full stage without looking through without looking through a shade. Also, just as at his artistic liberty, he chose to show some cafe lighting under there. We didn't propose that, and I'm not sure we want it, but those kinds of details would come later.
I think as you look at it, that the initial stage part, you know, that looks like it could be more permanent. I mean, I just can't see that being something you want to take down and put back up all the time. Because it always needs that no matter what. So
Right.
that would be one of the things.
Well, it could. It partly has to do with snow loads and what it's fabricated.
I think that's why I think more permanent versus a canvas structure.
A lot of those decisions would be done in partnership with Parks of or our Public Works Department. What is our current staffing capable of installing and deinstalling? And what's the life and the other maintenance of something if we added like for lack of a better idea, metal roof extension to the front of the stage? Would that have more durability or not exceed the runoff that the rest of the roof needs to carry water and drainage? So
There are times of the year when you want sun on the stage.
yeah.
And warmth. Okay.
Any other questions about that for now? We'll certainly keep you in the loop as it goes forward. I don't have a specific timeline, except that in the course of this year, we'll be exploring with that designer fabricator to get a better cost estimate, so that then we can begin approaching what can we do locally, what would we look for, what is that total budget, and then be able to go back to either our anticipation is this would be a project that we believe we might be able to largely do private fundraising for through the festival as a gift back to the community, rather than asking for the taxpayers to pay for that. We've got some larger projects in mind we're going to ask them for help for. So.
I think it's a really good idea. Do we need a motion or anything, or just?
A consideration of support, or if you wish to do that, I think that'd be helpful.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that to consider supporting this proposal. I think it's a good idea from both Leadership Salina and also Arts and Humanities to move forward, because it is needed.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All not, same sign. There you go.
There's also an additional piece of paper I slipped into your packet that did not get emailed to you. About a year and a half ago, I presented a master plan update to the city commissioners about what Oakdale could look like after we fulfill some of the projects that we were proposing at the time, which were the removal of the tennis courts, the addition of pickleball, the removal or the demolition of the skating pond, and I provided that document, and I don't recall if I provided that to the advisory board at that time. However, you're getting it today. In that kind of visionary type document, it showed the pickleball courts, which are there now. It also showed some potential, or what we think as a concept, what could go in place of where the skating pond was. And Brad's staying at the podium because we like to continue. We'd like to talk about that a little bit, if you're willing. I know we don't have an agenda item on it per se, but if you're willing to indulge us, that would be great.
Be interested to hear what he's got to say.
I can do this relatively quickly, but it's mostly just to keep you informed of some discussions, again, that Arts and Humanities has had with leadership from Parks and Recreation, just to make sure that we weren't envisioning something that the staff said, please don't offer that. This will be the 48th year of the Smoky Hill River Festival, and for 48 years we've had a sponsor who has brought in a 2 to 3 bedroom home to serve as our festival headquarters. As you might imagine, as that has grown and the complexity of getting a three-bedroom home down the street and through the park, and the lack of likelihood that that resource will always be there for us every year prior to COVID, and as our economy has changed, the availability of those homes changes dramatically. And we run our entire office operation, cash flow, administration of a $750,000 cash and in-kind event for 60,000 people, and I don't want to do that in a tent. And so for the long-range planning, we had heard some interest from a previous park superintendent that about a possible community center. We liked that idea. We weren't sure where it might go, but what we presented to the City Commission during a strategic planning session a few weeks ago was an idea that where the skating pond was might be a great place for a multi-functioning year-round community center that might seat 250 people, that could be a flex space for summer programs and education, maybe a gathering center when there's a new revitalized river in 2030 or 2031 throughout that park. Certainly for the River Festival to be able to benefit from having a climate-controlled, steady, regular location for its operations at the event. And I have no idea whether car show or other entities, or when there's a summer, the 4th of July celebration that happens in that park, whether that would be of benefit. But I'll let Jeff and his staff address things in terms of need, but our understanding is that there is far more demand than there are available spaces for community centers, and why not put a beautiful community center in Salina's premier park? And if it had benefit for the citizens throughout the year and of helping support a major tourist attraction, our plan is we've secured some funding to get just a concept drawing done, again, much like the shade sails. Our foundation board and another granting agency, the Earl Bain Foundation, has provided some funding to be able to have an architect's concept designed so that we can come back to different boards and potential donors and do some community visioning on how big should this space be, how might it function, what else could it be, and to give you a little bit of a heads up of our intent once the new grass is established at the former skating pond area. Our intent prior to a community center ever being built or improved is we're going to be making some significant changes to our art show layout and the location of Stage 2 to be able to benefit from that new green space. We think we can better orient the park, serve more people, maybe get a slightly larger tent in that space. And if we had a community center there with a back porch with a huge thrust roof, that could become our new stage for Stage 2. And we just thrust a tent off of that and even seat more people than we currently can do. It would give us some nice options for the long term. In the event we had a wet and drizzly weekend, but people still wanted to come out, having a large space that 1,500 or 2,000 people could sit under a tent and have the performers protected over a solid porch as opposed to an open stage might be of benefit for the event as well. So this is very early phases, and we would expect to both engage community and our advisory boards, the arts and humanities, and you all, along with the staff, of doing a needs assessment of exactly how big should this be, what are the parking requirements, what would it do to change the fabric of the park and make sure it doesn't violate the beauty of the formal garden, but also improves the functionality and our ability to produce good programs in the space. So there's kind of a description there, and Jeff and I were talking. Neither one of us shared what the city manager did with the governing body. But if you'd like to look at kind of an aspirational thing, the city of Andover has a community center in one of their parks that he shared with the governing body at their strategic planning. And I'm not sure we can afford or would propose something that would be that expensive, but it's certainly a nice thing to consider and a potential for as we move closer to the River Festival's 50th anniversary. We're using this as a time to maybe engage both the public and ask the city to help share in the cost of that if the governing body decides it's worth pursuing. So.
To follow up on what Brad is talking about, when we fleshed out this idea or this vision, at the time we were 6 months looking at a 6-month schedule of our current community centers of Carver Center, Friendship Center, and they're booked every weekend. We get calls a weekly basis about venues that have this and this and this, and we don't have something to offer them because we're booked for 6 months out. We think we like the idea of another community center in our system. We would use it as a community center outside of some of the major events that occur in Oakdale Park, and we also looked at what other needs could we fulfill with a potential space. Is we don't have access currently to a kitchen where we can teach classes relating to our therapeutic recreation group, teach them life skills of cooking, of healthy cooking, of taking care of their basic needs through food, and having that kitchen space. So the potential for a kitchen space in this potential or proposed community center is a very good thing for us to do. We don't have that kitchen available to us right now. Additionally, and having the access to the garden we also get several calls a month relating to wedding space. In addition to the outdoor space of Oakdale, where they want to have their wedding at, but then they don't know where to go for a reception. And then this can be a one-stop shop for a moderate-sized wedding, and with the ability to rent the community center, and then also have their formal wedding in the park, was just, to me, a vision of made sense totally that this can be an opportunity to do that. And so it seems like something we would like to pursue. This is an initial introduction of passing along of information. There'll probably be more to come, and we'll probably be coming back, or I will be coming back to you, and when we have more concrete information and estimates and designs and timelines and all that good stuff. But when we had the visioning kind of exercise of what this could look like, I got very excited because I think it would solve a lot of issues in our park system and recreation as well, just not parks as well.
The last thing I might mention, it comes up a lot, especially through the responsibilities that parks have with the limited staff. Things like janitorial service or having a cost recovery for this, I think it has the potential of being a revenue generator. It may not fully, pay for the cost of a building over the time, but it would certainly take care of that. And if maintenance staff for the inside of the facility is limited, it might be a time to pass that cost on to the user as part of a rental fee and contract out for that service. So I think there's a number of things that we'll be discussing and looking at on what the city's budget and personnel could handle with it. We don't want to, as a partnering as another department, we don't want to create additional burden for Parks and Rec, because we greatly value all of what they provide to us throughout the year, and especially during the festival. And if a kitchen gets approved, Dennis has agreed to cook for the weekend there for us, because he has lots of time on festival weekend to just work in the kitchen. So we're excited about that. Thanks, Dennis.
The kitchen concept I was thinking of is like a church kitchen, where it's almost like an oval, if you will, or a block O, where you can accommodate 10 people, something like that. That's what I was thinking. Before our, minds, we're not talking about a commercial kitchen here for Dennis. Talking about something that would service a large group of people, like a church kitchen would. That was my original thought. But I'm not looking for a recommendation at this point in time for any of this, because, again, we don't have concrete information. This is all idea, and this is visionary. But this is what's coming down our thought processes and for strategic planning for the future for the city of Salina.
Well, the nice thing about Oakdale being opened up so much with the tennis courts and now this ice skating rink being taken out of there, it gives you a chance to think and see how it can be used, because it changed that tremendously.
That's what I felt when I created that conceptual site view or overview, is that what can we, this gives us the opportunity to do something different.
Great.
Thank you, Brad.
Yep, thanks,
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Jeff, what some master plan items there?
Oh, thank you. I have a few attachments in your packet relating to some items on the master plan, and backing up to the master plan information. The master plan was created in 2018. I'm sorry, it's created in 2017, and we formalized 187 items in 2018 of items of deferred maintenance that were identified in the master plan that staff have been taking care of. We're about at a 70, 72, or 73% mark of having it either completed or underway, which I'm very proud of our staff for getting this far. There are items on the plan that we have questions about what it could look like, and that's the review portion of this. There are also items on the master plan that we would like to reconsider, and I have this exercise is kind of homework for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, is to go through some of these items, and we can talk about it in some more detail in the next month in April. But I'll quickly go through some of these items and give you an idea of why they're on here, why we're reviewing them, and why we're reconsidering them. Schilling Park, we have an agreement with school district to operate portions of land on school grounds for Schilling Park and for Heartland. We operate Schilling Park and we operate Kennedy Park on school grounds. The item on the master plan, for example, was to abandon this agreement with the school, and my recommendation to the city manager and to the city commission was to not do this, to continue to maintain this park. So that's what I mean by reconsider. That's an item relating to reconsider. I can go through all these items. They're not sure how much time you want to take. Some of the items are difficult. Some of the items are no longer make sense because it's now 5 years later. Jerry Ivy, one of the items was to keep the Western Park entrance clear. With the improvement of the school parking, we don't have as large of a problem of the school parking there. Sunset Park shelters, there are 4 shelters currently in Sunset Park. It is our opinion that we don't need another shelter at this time. Lakewood Discovery Center, we found that the foundation was stabilized, is in okay shape at Lakewood Discovery Center. And before I get too far ahead of myself, the reason why we're doing this exercise is to get your feedback, and it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. And eventually, we would have a recommendation from you on items to reconsider or to give feedback on, to give direction on. And then the ones we're going to reconsider, the city commission will need to kind of by resolution remove these items from the master plan. They approved all 187 items in 2018. They also be the ones to remove them from the plan. So I do need
Just
to...
a thought, we're an advisory committee, you guys are the experts. If you just give us what your recommendation is, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks of, but I think that would make to me more sense than us trying to figure this out.
Rejecting the homework. Okay.
I'm not rejecting. I was trying to get other people's input. But,
Okay. No, I don't disagree with you.
In fact,
I
I don't
just-
even know what a BFRA is, so I.
Berkeley Family Recreational Area.
Okay, all right, so.
It's the former East Crawford Recreation Area.
And then we're like.
That is not going to be reconsidered. That is under review. We still have a purpose of implementing a water diversion system. We have so much water coming off the runway, the former runway at East Crawford, and we need to figure that out. It is being reviewed because we're still working through the design and engineering of that to get water to the north, to the retention pond that's up there.
I mean, like replacing a water spigot and Holly, I know where it's at, but, I think that's really you guys is making that decision.
Okay.
The rest of the committee thinks, but.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like you just mentioned, the foundation at Lakewood Park Discovery Center, and you mentioned that you guys have evaluated it and it seems to be okay. I would not know that, so.
Right. So next month in April, what I can do is go through these items in a little more of a fine-tooth comb, if you will, and I'll put in notes and I'll give a recommendation to you. If that's how you would like me to approach that.
In the meantime, we could think about them, and if there's a particular one we care about or
That'd
several,
be certainly helpful.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman.
think of them more.
Number 75, we certainly would love to add a new aquatic destination feature at Kenwood Cove. It's a $2 million to $3-4 million price tag, depending on what you. So, it's a large nut to crack. So we have purposes of why we're in. So I'm getting what you're saying, and I will give more context to why we are reviewing them or reconsidering them. If in the meantime, if you have questions about any of these, please ask. I'm available through email.
I would ask one more question here. I think it's 140, just because it had to do with the school district. Talking about abandoning Kennedy Park and looking for a larger park, or, I mean, I know there's more in that box because I was looking at it earlier, but
it got cut off.
Tell me what you've thought about it now.
The recommendation for that item is similar to the number 15 item, which would be Schilling Park, where we are no longer I am not pursuing abandoning any agreement with the school district relating to Schilling Park or Kennedy Park, which is at Heartland Education Center.
Wasn't the other park over there beside the school district offices?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Across the street to the north of
That's
Indian Rock.
Glendifer Hill.
That's Glendifer, that's city property.
That is city property? Okay.
Yeah. One item you'll see through here, though, is for Glendifer Hill, is that most of the amenities, if not all the amenities, we're migrating towards Indian Rock Park, with the future possible intention that Glendifer Hill Park, which is the park adjacent to the USD 305 administration building, would potentially become available for future housing development. But we would not be losing features per se. They just migrate over to Indian Rock Park. So that's one of these items on here that I need to give more context to give you an idea why you're being asked to review them or reconsider them. Some we don't agree with. Number 146, Thomas Park, there was part of the master plan included having a off-leash dog park at Thomas Park. We don't support that as staff. We think Thomas Park is difficult to access. It's on the north side of town. We have other plans for additional dog parks, and I can give you some context about what we're looking at. And so on. Let me do that exercise, and I will get back to you in April with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any old business?
Not for me.
Got pretty much everything covered. Any project updates like Bill Burke and all that?
Yes, Bill Burke. This morning we had a meeting with Bill Burke, project manager. We are pretty much substantially completed. We have a few items remaining. Seeding, they're applying seed next week. They have some additional fence work to do. We're waiting on material to come in for fence work. But we've somewhat verbally agreed today that we're at substantial completion for that project. Travis has a tournament this weekend, and we're going forward with that using 4 fields. And so that should be hopefully next month, but when I meet with you again, we should be saying we put that to bed. We heard from Mr. Anderson and myself today about the Oakdale skating pond. We have a few touch-up items to do with that area. If not now, it should be very soon. We're bringing in additional soil to kind of raise it up a little bit. There's some water distribution pipes that were there as of last Friday, and those are being removed by our water distribution people, and those are the main big pipes that brought in water to that original skating pond and the original pool. Pestinger Family Stadium, if you haven't been by Wilbur Field or the new Pestinger Family Stadium at East Crawford or Berkeley Family Recreation Area, they are moving fast. I've never seen a field a field being demoed and then rebuilt so quickly. Their goal is to have a playable field by the end of May for the state tournament. And so far, so good. Looks like they're going to meet that. Tennis center bathrooms. The tennis center bathrooms themselves are completed. They are working on the exterior to do some of the trim around the roof, the fascia and soffit, painting. So the building looks like a building that was kind of one we would recognize in our system. Those dark brown colors with the brick. And then we'll be doing some different work around there with dirt work and probably some reseeding. As I think I mentioned, I'll be working with Salina Tennis Alliance, which is the nonprofit group that operates that facility, and they'll be kind of taking over those bathrooms as far as the cleaning and cleaning of those once their season really gets kicked off. And they're already over there using those courts. And lastly, concrete improvements. There have been the contractor we have doing concrete improvements have been doing work at Indian Rock Park, and they've started on the north end doing sidewalks and parking lots on the north end of Indian Rock Park, and they made their way to the lodge, the Indian Rock Lodge on the top of the hill, and doing replacing the gravel parking lot with concrete parking and improving drainage. And I think they still have a little bit of work to do up there and to finish up, but they've already moved on to the tennis center. So we're putting in additional sidewalks at the tennis center at Kenwood Park that did not get included necessarily in the public-private partnership of the tennis facility at Kenwood Park. Bless you. And that's where we're at with that.
Yeah, I've been to the top of Indian Rock, and that really has changed that whole look up there. It's really nice.
It is. I was up there not too long ago, and I thought, wow, this is
Yeah,
different.
yesterday I was up there, and that concrete just changes that whole thing.
Speaking of Indian Rock, there is a larger Indian Rock plan coming in the future where we're looking at improving that, making other improvements to the park, whether it be the pond that's there, removing some of the additional trees, some of the extra trees that, cleaning up some of those trees, to migrating some of those items from Glenifer Hill Park to the Indian Rock Park, to I missed one. So there are some overall master plan we're looking at. I would say it's a sub-master plan of Indian Rock Park, and we have some future work to do at Indian Rock. That's all. That's what I have on my list, unless there's any questions for us.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have any
Any general
announcements?
Announcements? Oh, okay.
I don't have any general announcements,
Okay.
unless any of the
Mine.
board members do.
I move we adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.